couple other things that I wanted to get to. Number one, Lonzo Ball is returning tonight. Supposedly, the Ball family has announced that he shall return. And he's been gone for a little while now with 15 games. Lakers had a little winning streak, had a little losing streak without him. Let's see what he does, because the pressure's going to be on him. Because it's my estimation that, you know what? If Daddy keeps talking and Lonzo Ball don't start playing, would surprise me at all if he ended up in another uniform. I'm not saying that Magic's going to do that. I'm not saying I'm hearing that. I'm just telling you my personal belief. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Having said all of that, I want to make sure that I emphasize this. In light of this FBI probe and all the things that have been talked about with these programs, have any of y'all realized that LaVar Ball is the one that comes out looking pretty good in all of this? I mean, you remember when George Raveling called him out and called him the worst thing that's happened to college basketball or the college sports because of the way he was bloviating about Lonzo? And ultimately, and this was before he pulled the Suns out of high school and college, respectively. LaVar Ball was eccentric and loudmouth and, marched to a beat of his own drum and all of this stuff that they wanted to lament. LaVar Ball looks pretty damn smart right now. Because when you look at what's happening to these programs and what could potentially go down with college basketball, who's in a position to judge LaVar Ball? Who associated with college basketball can say anything about LaVar Ball? Exploitation at its finest. We're talking about the NCAA. We know what's been reported about what's happened with these programs. Who's anybody to talk about LaVar Ball? Not in college basketball. Not in college basketball. Can't say anything to the man. He sat up there and told me one time, you got these programs and these universities and the institution of the NCAA. They exploit our children. They take advantage of our children for their own gain. What's wrong with a parent taking advantage of their child's abilities to exploit it on behalf of the family? Can anybody argue with that? I'm not sure we can today. LaVar Ball looks pretty damn smart. He really, really does. Now, Lonzo still has to play because he's got to be worth it. But LaVar Ball looks pretty damn smart. That needs to be said. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Another item I wanted to get into is this. LeBron and the Cavs lost the game last night. Washington Wizards beat them. Bradley Beal had about 18 points, 9 assists. Tomas Satoransky, filling in at the point guard spot in place of the injured John Wall, had about 17 points, 0 turnovers. Hit 6 or 7 shots from the field. I am of the mindset John Wall better get his behind back to work quick, fast, and in a hurry. You don't want the Washington Wizards to become accustomed to winning without Wall. Because if that happens, then when he decides to come back, if there's any kind of roadblocks that they hit, he's going to get blamed. He's going to get blamed. And he don't want that. So that much is worth saying. It really, really is. It's going to be real interesting to see what they do. Cleveland, here's my thing. They just couldn't hit open three-pointers last night because they had plenty. But my flip side is that if you struggle, if you're struggling and you go into the playoffs, listen, first of all, Washington winning last night, they only a half game behind Cleveland for the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference. If Cleveland loses that 3rd seed and drop to 4th, as of right now, they would be playing the Toronto Raptors in the 2nd round of the postseason. And that's after going up against Milwaukee in the 1st round. And if that's the conditions under which they're going at it, Do you really believe that Cleveland's coming out of the East? I still believe it. But damn it, it's a tight call. It really, really is. And I think those are the kind of things that can't be ignored. Because Toronto may be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. And Cleveland will face them in the second round. Now, I think Cleveland should beat them because I think LeBron handles his business against them. But you just never know. You just never know. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I just think you got to think about all of these things and then some. That's what you got to do. That's how I feel about it. Let's go to the phones at 888-729-3766. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Who do we have on the line, Nuno? Nick in North Carolina. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A., what's going on, my man?
I'm good. Talk to me.
All right, man. The NCAA, this basketball thing, man, this took a major hit today. I'm telling you, as a Carolina fan, I mean, you never know what's going to happen. But as far as the players who are on the list that are still there, are they going to continue? Do you know if they're going to continue to play, or do you think they're going to sit?
So far, that's to our knowledge, they're going to continue to play. No suspensions have been handed down.
Okay.
You know? No suspensions have been handed down. We don't know for sure what's going to happen. We're waiting to see.
Okay.
And I'm more interested in what's going to happen with the coaches, if I'm being totally honest. I want to see what coaches, because remember, this is not the NCAA, this is the FBI. So you're going to see coaches lawyering up. I want to see who's going to be that. Mm-hmm. Who are the coaches that's going to lawyer up? That's what I'm interested in seeing. Who's going to hire a lawyer? Because then you know how serious this is. That's just me. That's how I feel about it, man.
All right, one more point if I could make.
Hurry up without the pregnant pauses, man. You live over the national airways. You got to be ready to go. Go ahead.
All right. As far as college football is concerned, all these quarterbacks they're talking about who's going to go where, this, that, and the third. How come nobody talks about Lamar Jackson?
Well, they've been talking about him. You know, the great Bill Polian, Hall of Famer, said he wouldn't even have him as a quarterback. He'd have him as a wide receiver. Now, I emphatically disagree with that because I think he can make plays with his feet. I think his arm is better than indicated, and I don't agree with that. But I will tell you this, too. What happened to Josh Rosen at UCLA? Sam Darnold dropped to number 5 in the latest mock draft. Josh Allen out of Wyoming is the top pick in a lot of people's minds. We don't know whether or not that's going to be true. All of those things are things to think about. Appreciate the call. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I got a lot more to get into in regards to this scandal, plus some NBA action to get into. Spring training is open for my New York Yankees. They're winning the World Series this year. They're winning the World Series this year. It's going to happen, okay? I believe. I just believe. So we got that to talk about, but not before we talk about our man Seth Greenberg, college basketball analyst extraordinaire. He's up next with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
16 minutes past hour number two, back here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. By the way, Seth Greenberg's coming on in 30 minutes past the hour, not 15. My apologies. Number to call as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Who do we have on the line, ladies and gentlemen? Who's next? Brendan? Brian in West Virginia. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hey, Stephen A., thanks for taking my call, brother.
Go ahead, my
man. I got a quick way to – I agree with you on paying the college athletes. First of all, no matter what school you go to, NCAA should have a flat rate for all student athletes. That's the bottom line. Second way is –
a flat rate for – stop. A flat rate for all student athletes?
Now, I'm going to explain why, okay?
Hold on. I need clarification first. You're telling me the swimmers should get paid, the volleyball players should get paid, all of that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
All right,
and I'm going to explain why. Okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. The reason why is they get more pay based on what they get at the gate. Their families come, their fans come, whoever. Whatever the sport is, they get a percentage of the gate. They get a percentage of the concessions, whatever, however you want to break that down.
Right.
But what that'll do, and I learned this going to a WBU girls basketball game for the first time in 2015. There was nobody in the fans, no fans in the seats.
Let me stop you right
I'm a
there.
big fan.
Let me stop you right there. Let me tell you why you're so deadly wrong, okay? Because you're assuming that a scholarship counts for nothing. The fact of the matter is a scholarship matters. That's a form of compensation. So I think that every student athlete may be entitled to a scholarship, but any additional funds? No, I think that should be for the revenue generators, not just because you're a student athlete.
Well, and that's what I said. If the venue, whatever it is, swimming, football, basketball, badminton, whatever the college sport is, to protect you from Title IX violations, to keep EO out of the HR section, because it is a corporation, the college is, if they get a percentage of whatever is cost to get to the game, whatever the ticket costs. You break that down.
Yeah, but sir, you said that's after the flat rate. And I'm saying to you, there ain't no flat rate in my estimation. There shouldn't be. The scholarship is good enough unless you generate revenue. If you generate revenue, you should get something. If you don't generate revenue as a sport, you get nothing but your scholarship. That is the flat rate, the scholarship. That's what I'm saying.
Take that.
All right, thank you. Gotta go. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Nathan in Cali. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Nathan?
Good morning, Stephen A. I just want to make a couple quick points. The first one being, I think that money outside of the scholarship should come from the companies that are using the names and the faces of these athletes, like Nike, Adidas, Reebok. I think that's where compensation should come from, because they're making a lot of money off of these athletes, and they don't see anything from those companies. So I don't think that the universities themselves, other than a scholarship, need to pay out, but I think that the companies do.
Okay. You might have a point there. That's something worthy of being entertained. I can't dispute that. That's something that's worthy of being entertained. Let's go to Keisha in Cali. You're live with Stephen A. Keisha.
Stephen, Mr. Smith,
I need you to turn your radio off. We need to hear you.
Off, Papa. Turn the radio off. Stephen cannot hear me. And I need him to hear me.
Go ahead.
What is Andy doing to my team? What is he doing to the Chiefs?
Are you talking about Andy Reid?
Yes, sir.
Are you talking about your Chiefs? Are you talking about how your Chiefs are about to trade Marcus Peters to the Rams?
Yes, why would they do something like that? Why would they? Nobody is doing what Peters is doing on the defense. Why would he do that?
Would you like me to answer?
Totally finished that whole season.
I need to calm you down, and let me calm you down, and let me tell you why. I think Marcus Peters can ball. I definitely feel that he's an upside, but you got to remember, after next season, he'll be a free agent. And if the mentality is that we're not going to re-sign him long-term anyway, then it's best to trade him now because you can maximize his value. That's number one. Number two is that you remember you got some incidences that took place, him throwing a flag into the stands, him getting into it on the field, Marshawn Lynch is they're like brothers with one another. They're not blood relatives or anything like that, but they're that tight. All of this other stuff was perceived as being somewhat of a headache. Now, do I think that's fair? I don't. I truly don't. Because he can ball, and that's all that matters. But if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you have no intentions of signing him to a long-term deal, why wait until after next season when he's a free agent when you can get him for some compensation right now?
Because we needed him this year. Because we already have a brand-new quarterback. Our offense is already going to be shaky this season, and now we have no defense. We have no defense and no offense this season 2018.
Well, here's the problem, Keisha. You had him and you still lost. So what difference does it make?
That's what Reed does. He makes the team, he builds them up, makes them explosive and exciting, and when they come just short of the championship,
Keisha.
Okay.
Keisha, y'all didn't play in the AFC Championship game. Y'all lost to the Tennessee Titans.
That is a freak loss. You have to admit some extraordinary crap happened for us to lose that game. Extraordinary crap. The balls bouncing off the helmet. They knocked out Kelsey. He was knocked out. He was unconscious on the field. Come on. There was a lot of just supernatural crap happening on that and we should have lost it. It was safe.
Keisha, did y'all not have a 17-point lead?
What?
Did you not have a 17-point lead?
Yes, we did.
And did you lose that?
Yeah.
That's not a fluke. Keisha, forfeiting. Hold on. Keisha, hold on. Forfeiting a 17-point lead is not a freak accident. And not only that, you talked about the Kansas City Chiefs, right? And you're coming up just shy. Keisha, you've been in the playoffs the last 3 years. Okay? You haven't won anything. You haven't won a Super Bowl since the 70s. What are you talking about just shy?
The last group, this last team, that was the team. That was the team to get us to the Super Bowl. That was it right there. And we just needed one more chance.
Lisa, when's the last time you've been in the conference championship?
I don't know. When they first started.
1993. That's 25 years ago, Keisha. I'm just saying, okay?
We're still the champions of the West.
All right.
We're still the champions of the West.
I got you. Take care, Keisha. I appreciate the passion. Thank you so much. It's really nice to hear our passion. It really, really is. Dan in Virginia, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. Thanks for having me on today.
I'm all right. Go ahead.
I was just wondering who keeps tabs on the NCAA, because it seems to me that they're the ones with lack of institutional control, and somebody needs to hold them accountable for it with all these big name teams getting in trouble.
Nobody watches them. That's why they can get away with being idiots.
Well, somebody needs to do something, because they're obviously the ones that don't know how to run an organization properly with all these teams trying to skirt around them.
Right. I understand. I get your point. But you know what? People have been clamoring for, watchdogs on the NCAA for many, many years. Nothing works. And if you really, really look at it, I mean, they make their money off of the NCAA tournament and the Final Four. That's basically where their bread is buttered. So it's one of those situations where, they're going to be reactionary, but prior to that, they're not going to instigate any kind of investigation or anything like that, because the programs, particularly the ones that make money, the NCAA needs desperately. And they're going to capitulate to their wishes to some degree. There's no way around that. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Seth Greenberg. He'll be up next to talk about this latest scandal in college basketball and whether or not college basketball can ever recover from this. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! My next guest is a very, very busy man. Check out the Courtside Podcast with Greenberg and Dan Dockich. New episodes weekly. This week, they interview Nevada head coach Eric Musselman and Wichita State head coach Greg Marshall. Listen on the ESPN app on Apple Podcast. My next guest, as I said, is the man I was talking about here. His name is Seth Greenberg, college basketball analyst for the family. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Coach, how are you, sir?
Stephen A., thanks for the plug, man. We need a little love at the old Courtside Podcast, Greenberg and Dockich. Better affectionately it is known as the world's greatest podcast and the Two Fired Coaches podcast.
There you go. Listen, I got no problem giving you love, Coach, but I got to tell you this something. I need you to give some love to college basketball, if it's possible right now, because it seems like they need all the love it can get when you hear about an FBI probe that's implicated so many schools, and they include Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Texas, Kansas. I mean, the list goes on and on. Your thoughts when you officially heard this news come down?
I'm not shocked nor not surprised. And it sounds crazy to say that, but Stephen A., look, you've been in this game a long time. You played college basketball. You've seen it. You understand it. Yeah, the difference today, real simply, is today the runners, the bagmen, years past, it used to be done in a paper bag. Today it's business, and business means basically you've got to have a voice in the room where it happens. The best players are going to be recruited at the earliest stages by agents and runners and money managers. The one thing I have a problem with is that just because these players' parents and prospects are being taken care of, it doesn't mean that the money is being funneled by the coaches to the players. See, way back in the day, unfortunately, there were a ton of scandals in college basketball. It was always an assistant coach or a head coach funneling money to a player. Mm-hmm. The head coach is almost out of it now. The assistant coaches are out of it now. You know who's involved? The agents through the AAU coaches. Every AAU program, you and I know this, that has good players, that has pros, is sponsored in some way, shape, or form by an agent,
but
or money manager.
But Coach, here's the part where some people will sit there, and I'm not talking about you, sir. Please don't get me wrong. But some people that would would hear that opinion. Here's what they would question about it, or flat out think is disingenuous about it. No, the coach is not directly involved. But if an agent is paying a player, particularly before, the family, the player's family, or whatever, particularly before that player even gets to a particular program, then it's pretty difficult to believe that, A, the coach knows nothing about it when the coach stands to benefit from it because the player has gone to their program at the very least. I mean, what do you say to somebody that would bring that up as a possibility?
Well, before the recruiting process starts. The agent's involved well before the recruiting process starts. These kids are identified as sophomores and juniors in high school. So, to me, the AAU code, why do agents align themselves with AAU programs? All right? To build relationships. Everything's about relationships. So the investment in the AAU program originally by the agent, all right, starts the process. Then once the prospect is identified, the relationships are built through the agent with the prospect, his prospect's family. He's got his hooks in him. Then, here's where the agent and the coach corroborate. Here's the deal. If you're recruiting a big-time, say Stephen A. Smith's a big-time player back in the day, all right? Okay. So what are you going to do? He's got a circle of influence. He's got the people that are going to help him make his decision. And when you're recruiting Stephen A. Smith, you know what? You've got to touch every person in that circle. You've got to find out who's the most important person in that circle of influence. And at worst, you've got to keep everyone neutral and have a voice in the room. What I used to say, who's working for us when we're not there? Because someone's going to be working for someone when they're not there. So all the schools that are recruiting these guys, whether they admit it or not, they're communicating with the agent, with the runner, with the money manager, with the girlfriend, with the parents, with the AAU coach, and everyone else in the circle. Now, in the end, here's what you got to have. You've got to have, as a coach, you've got to have a relationship with these agents. And basically what you're basically saying is, you know what? We're going to coach this guy. We're going to get him ready for the league, and we're going to protect you. But we're not telling you to pay the guy. We probably don't know how much money these guys even get paid. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have relationships with those guys. And, I don't think in essence, because the business is for the agent to secure the prospect. And that's where the coaches, like back in the day where coaches were paying players, coaches don't need to pay players anymore. The agents and the money managers are paying the players because they're identifying them at an earlier age.
But if everything you're pointing to is absolutely accurate, Coach, that's almost tantamount to saying that the coaches shouldn't be held accountable. Is that your feeling?
Well, I think some should, because I think some are part of the process, but some aren't. Not all. Here's my thing: is I don't think you can paint a broad brush across every single one of these situations because they're all different. They all have a different personality. There are coaches that have no idea what's going on, or they have an idea of what's going on, but you know what? They don't know the significance of it. They don't know at the level. Sure, they know. Look, if you're a top 10 player, if you're a top 20 player, odds are you have an agent. I've been saying this for years. Since I've started working at ESPN, I said, if you're a big-time player, all right, you're getting taken care of. Like people talking about paying the players, hell, they're getting paid already. All right? I'm telling you, if you're a top 20 player, if you're a guy that's projected as an NBA player, by the time you're a junior in high school, someone in your circle of influence is getting taken care of. That's just the truth. Whether people want to put their head in the sand or not, someone's getting taken care of. Aunt, uncle, parent, AU coach.
Okay.
Someone's getting paid.
And what I'm saying to you is think about this. Think about what we've seen. For example, we've got a guy like Jalen Rose that's working here at the network. We've got Chris Webber, working at TNT and what have you, doing great jobs. We all know what we saw from the Fab Five. We all can appreciate the greatness that they brought to the basketball court and how they reinvigorated college basketball for all of us to see, even though they didn't win a national championship along the way. Those Final Four memories Michigan has tried to strip us of it. The NCAA has tried to strip us of it. Steve Fisher loses his job because of all of this kind of stuff. What should have happened to them based off of what you're saying?
Well, here's the thing. At that moment in time, it was a lot different than today.
How?
I think that coaches were involved, or at least allegedly had some knowledge and relationship with these people that funneled money to prospects. And, Jalen could obviously address that better than anyone else. And he loves Coach Fisher. I love Coach Fisher. But, I think what's happened back then is that the coaches were more personally involved. Those were Michigan boosters that were paying those guys. The guy, I think it was Ed Martin, right?
That's
Ed
right.
Martin was a Michigan
But
he was
remember,
a Michigan booster. There's a difference between a Michigan booster and an agent really that has no affiliation with anyone who he's conducting business. Like, here's the deal. If I'm an agent, why wouldn't I want to have a relationship with a big-time AAU program and invest in them? Small investment, huge return. Why wouldn't I want to have a relationship with the best players in the country? So once I have those investments and I have those assets, and it sounds silly to say it like that, then where do I put these kids to make sure, one, I get them back, two, I get a return on my investment, and two, I develop them? And I think that's these agents are saying, all right, I stick the guy to school X, Y, Z. You know what? His kids have done well and they've improved, and they've become lottery picks.
Well, here's my understanding, Coach. My understanding has always been a college coach. Usually, particularly with big-time agents, you've got college coaches that have relationships with the agents. And as a result, ultimately, that agent or whomever it is may gear them towards the school where the college coach is associated with. That's how everybody gets paid.
They have relationships with a bunch of dudes,
right,
Stephen? And that's what I'm saying. It's not certain guys have better relationships with other guys, but that's why, again, in the room where it happens, right back to Hamilton, you better have someone in that room. And you better work that agent who's in that room, because in the really big-time players, the agent's in the room helping that decision.
Before I let you
go, he's helping that decision.
Got you. Before I let you go, Coach, we've got Calipari, we've got Krzyzewski, we got Roy Williams, players from their programs mentioned. What kind of damage could this potentially do to the sport you love so much?
It hurts me. I think that some of they're all different levels. From what I've read a little bit, like Tony Bradley, the kid in North Carolina, they threw a draft party when he declared for the draft or some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on the level. I think that I don't think it's going to look. People want to take shots at Cal no matter what. So you don't sit on the fence with Cal.
That's right.
You're on one side. You're on one side or the other. I'm a Cal guy. I think he's great. I think he's great for our sport. I think he loves kids. I think he demands of them. He coaches them. I think if in the end that say people find out that Duke's involved, that would taint Mike just because people don't see him that way. He's the guy on the white horse. Now the last thing I would say, everyone's talking about Andy Miller. Do you think Andy Miller's the only guy that's doing this?
No, absolutely not.
Come
absolutely
on, right? You don't think this is happening in football?
But see, this is what I'm thinking, Coach. I'm thinking that even though it's unrelated, the FBI probing into Louisville, I think stuff like that is going to ultimately lead to folks singing like birds and telling the FBI anything else they want to know about, even unrelated matters, just to take other people's down to soften the penalties that's going to come their way. That's what I think is going to happen.
100, Stephen A., you are right on the money. Isn't it amazing that they got these records? Obviously, Christian Dawkins or someone is starting to sing to trying to cut the deal. Let's face it. The first dude to cut the deal gets the best deal.
There you go. There you go. Coach, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, buddy.
Stephen A., you're the best. Anytime, babe. Look forward to talking with you during the tournament.
Thanks a lot, buddy. The one and only Seth Greenberg right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Surprise! A friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. So go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN, please. ESPN Radio is also presented by Progressive Insurance. With more than 30 unique coverage options available, Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. 888-729-3776. That's 888-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go before we get on out of here. Let's go to Michael in Massachusetts, you're live with Stephen A. You still there? Let's go to Earl in New Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Earl?
Hey, what's up, Stephen? Hey, I just heard you say, could you blame the parent for, wanting to take advantage of their child's ability when he goes to college? Well, the number 5 point guard in high school going to Hudson Catholic, and he was going to go to Arizona, just might have lost his eligibility behind this FBI investigation. Do you think that's fair to punish the child?
No, I don't. I don't think it's, well, that's not, that one question has nothing to do with the other. I certainly am not going to blame a child, at this particular juncture in their life or whatever. There's certain things that you don't even know to watch out for, and it's up to the adults to look out for them. Make no mistake about it. But what I was saying, which is totally unrelated to your question, by the way, is that with the NCAA, with all the stuff coming down the pike and the way college basketball and college athletics as a whole is being looked upon because of the unsavory behavior of others, LaVar Ball is looking pretty decent right now. He's looking smarter than all of these folks because it looks like it's a bunch of crookedness going on in college sports, and at least LaVar Ball is on the up and up, whether you like it or not. That's what I was saying.
Okay, I got you on that one, but now, like I said, this kid who goes to Hudson Catholic, he's a senior in high school.
I don't want to talk about him right now because I don't know enough about him to comment intelligently about your point. So if I don't know, I don't know. But I would tell you that I'm inclined to believe that a child shouldn't be the one suffering for transgressions of this ilk, because it seems to be stuff above and over their head where you have individuals that they trust that are engaging in unsavory activity. So how am I going to, but I don't know all the details, and I'm not going to leave it to you to tell it to me. I'm going to find out myself. Then you can call me back when I have more information, and I'll be happy to comment about it.
New Jersey, the point guard. Look him up.
Bye. Have a nice day. I will look him up. I love how people try to call up and then, they swear up and down they got all the facts, and then you call up and you find out this has been left out and that has been left out and that detail has been left out and stuff like that. Put your name on Front Street, put your first name and last name, go on the air and be quoted directly. Leave your address as well. Make sure folks can find you in the event that you have misinformation. Because when you sit in this kind of platform, you damn well better know what you're talking about, or at least be man enough to admit that you may not have all the facts. One thing we're going to always do on this show is be fair and try to be as accurate as we possibly could be before we engage in any level of condemnation. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. This is Stephen A. signing off, but I'll be back Monday. Don't you worry about that. Until then, peace and love.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.